Hello, welcome to the Assistive Listening Device Training. I'm Dr. Jill Townsend, and I'm the MRP audiologist. Today we're going to be going through different reasons why your student needs to use an FM system, as well as the different parts of the FM system. And then we have a short video of showing the importance in actual real-life situation of how an FM system sounds or is beneficial for a student. There are three major factors that degrade the signal-to-noise ratio and therefore can affect the quality of the speech signal. That is background noise, reverberation, which is how the sound bounces off the wall, and the distance from the speaker to the listener. As we all know, classrooms can be very noisy. You may have a student with a hearing impairment or that you're trying to get their attention, and you have noise coming from every direction. And you're trying to get their attention. So that's where a hearing or an FM system is going to help to direct that sound straight to that student that is wearing an FM system to overcome that noisy environment. So that noise obviously can affect learning for all children, and especially those with a hearing loss. There is a study of students or children that had normal hearing. And they put them in different situations where they had them understand words up close and in quiet versus listening to those words, recognizing those words with distance and noise. As you can see, it's the younger age up close and in quiet, they understood 88% of the words. And the minute you added distance and noise, they understood 67%. So there was a big difference between when there's noise in the environment versus quiet and distance. And as they got older, it improved, but at that crucial age of 4, 5, 6 years old, that really makes a difference. They're still learning language and speech that we don't need any the distance and noise to deter their learning capabilities. We want to make sure that they're hearing in those environments. So, and that's with normal hearing children. So all children are at a disadvantage when listening to distant speaker or in background noise. And so those students that are hearing impaired have a greater disadvantage in those environments. And that's where the assistive listening device like our FM or Roger can overcome that background noise and the distance from that sound source. I have a classroom demonstration. Key thing to remember is your ideal listening range when you're thinking, well, what distance really is, where do they have the most difficulty? And if you can think within 3 to 4 feet, so think of a hula hoop as you stretch your arms out, the further away you get from your student or from that distance from that student, they're going to have a harder time hearing you, let alone then when you add even that background noise. So if you watch this video here, you can see this is in a school setting where the teacher is using an FM versus not using an FM, and what kind of some cues that student can give you where you can see the benefit that they're getting from that FM system, as well as some suggestions for that teacher to repeat when someone says something in a classroom. Just because the student can hear you because you're wearing the FM, they may not hear their peers. So you'll want to repeat any questions or any answers that the students had given, so that student with a hearing impairment can benefit and hear what everyone else hears. A lot of times people think, well, my student has a cochlear implant, so they can hear normal now, so they shouldn't, do they have trouble in noise? And the answer is yes, they definitely are still going to have some problems. We noticed, even with the study, even with normal hearing in noise, you're having trouble, let alone with a hearing aid or with an implant or BAHA, which is the bone anchored hearing aid, as well as a unilateral hearing loss, which is a hearing loss in only one ear. When you only have one ear, that one ear that can hear normally is doing a lot of work, and it's hard to hear the difference, to hear through a lot of background noise. What is an FM or Roger system? It consists of a transmitter that the teacher wears, which is transmitter or microphone, and the receiver or accessory that the student wears. And then it's that wireless transmission between the two. You have the talker will speak into the transmitter, and their voice is transmitted to the receiver that's connected to the hearing device, and so it delivers that sound to that hearing device. There are a few transmitters or microphones that you may see, depending. The newest is the Roger touchscreen. I'm slowly trying to get everybody to the Roger touchscreen, but I'm not quite there yet. But the Roger touchscreen, the Inspiro, the Zoom Link, and the multi-mic. So you may see any of these. The multi-mic is only used for certain students with a certain type of hearing aid or hearing device. It's really sometimes the only way that we can connect. The proper way to wear each transmitter, the Roger touchscreen, is you can only wear it as a lanyard. The adjustment is here. So you want to pull it. One nice thing is you can't wear it too low. So you still want to kind of put it up in the collarbone height. The Roger Inspiro can be worn two ways, in a lanyard mode like seen here. It can also have a hook where this piece here that normally is around your neck can be hooked to a belt loop or a belt clip. The main thing is this microphone always has to be at that collarbone height, so that their voice can be picked up by that microphone. If the microphone's down here, they're not going to hear you. And you want to make sure it's in the center, making sure that microphone is more center-based, not over to the side, so that when you turn your head to the opposite side, the student's still able to hear you. So in the center, collarbone height. The Zoom Link is a one-piece. With this one, it has a very long lanyard, so you really need to make sure that you're wearing it at collarbone height, so you need to adjust that length of that. The other thing with this one is that your microphone is on the side. So you want to make sure that nothing's rubbing on the side, hitting that microphone when you're wearing it like a scarf or a necklace or anything like that. So you really want to make sure your collarbone height and that nothing's going to hit that microphone that's on the side. And if you have a student that has a certain hearing device that would use a multi-mic, it is just this tiny little piece here, and it has a clip. So you want to clip that. I would even say clip it up a little higher, collarbone height. A microphone is at the top, and you want to make sure that you wear that in the center or close to center as possible too. There are a lot of different receivers that you may see with your student. This is the universal receiver. So on the hearing aid, it has an audio shoe that's attached, and then the receiver that attaches to that. A Roger 17, which is connected to, this is actually for a cochlear implant. It just slides on the bottom. This is another type of hearing aid that has an audio shoe, and that slides on, and you take that on and off each day, and then the receiver that attaches to that. With this cochlear implant, you have an audio or a Euro adapter that connects to the CI or the cochlear implant, and then has a receiver that attaches to that piece. You may see some that have an integrated receiver within the hearing aid. It actually has the FM receiver attached or is part of the battery door. There aren't a lot of students have that, just a few. And then the Roger Focus or iSense, you're probably more going to see a Roger Focus. These are used for unilateral hearing losses. So you're actually putting this in their good ear. It is not a hearing aid. So all it does is it connects, or it sends the speaker's voice straight into their ear. It doesn't amplify at all. So it's just giving you a direct input of the speaker. So I know it's sometimes confusing because we're wanting to put it in their good ear. You would think that you'd want to put it in the poor ear, but it just, like I said, is not a hearing aid. It's just sending the signal straight into that good ear. You may see some possible accessories that work with the receiver. The multi-mic, if it's not being used alone, when you see this, and if you see that they have this multi-mic and we also have a receiver, you'll also have a transmitter like we did on that on the screen here. You'll have one of these three connected. You're going to connect the receiver into the multi-mic. So this kind of acts as the audio shoe on a hearing aid. Some devices are too small, so you can't have an audio shoe. We have this multi-mic that connects. And you're gonna see this with some of the younger students because when you use the multi-mic alone, it does not do well in very noisy environments. So if you have a preschooler or a kindergartner, you're gonna be seeing this extra piece. So you'll plug that in here. You'll still have a transmitter that the teacher wears. This device might be worn by the teacher, just attached somewhere. or it can be next to the student. We can kind of decide if you have a student that has all of this equipment, you can contact me and we can figure out the best way for them to wear it. Another one is the Oticon streamer. It is a device that the student wears around their neck, and then this piece is connected to the bottom. This is an antenna, so this has to be around the student's neck. So this piece will talk to the device that the student wears. Compilot's kind of the same idea. You have this as an antenna. It needs to be worn around the student's neck, has the receiver attached to the bottom, and that antenna helps to send that signal straight to that hearing device the student is wearing. And then you may see the FM DEX has the receiver that's connected inside, and then you put the cover on. And once again, it goes through that wireless connection. This needs to be on the student or somewhere near the student that then talks to their hearing device. And then you still have the transmitter from here that's talking to all of those pieces. In order to have a successful FM or Roger operation, we need to make sure that the transmitter is on and the receiver are on the same channel if you're using FM, or that the Roger transmitter is connected or is synced to the receiver. And then the accessory must be paired if using Bluetooth. So on your multi-mic, if you're just using that, that has to be paired. And then you have to make sure the transmitter and accessory are charged. So you'll have charging cords for the transmitters, as well as if you have the multi-mic or any of those extra pieces here, these need to be charged as well. They all need to be charged. You want to make sure that the antenna is exposed. So mainly the antenna is the one with the Inspiro. You have you'll unwrap that unwrap the microphone. That's the antenna. The antenna on the Zoom link, which you don't see it here, is actually the lanyard. So you want to make sure it's not tied in a knot or that it's swung around. You want to make sure that everything's exposed. The receiver that is attached to the hearing device needs to be powered. It's usually powered by the hearing aid battery or the cochlear implant. And another thing to keep in mind is that you're in the correct operating range. So 20 to 40 feet indoors or 50 to 100 feet outdoors. There are some daily routines that you need to do that are required under Rule 51. You need to make sure that the ear mold is not blocked and the tubing isn't cut or cracked if you have a student that has a hearing aid. And you need to check for moisture in that tubing. You will have in your student's basket should be some cleaning tools, a wax pick, as well as a brush, as well as a ear blower that will help to blow out any moisture if there is anything in that tubing. You need to do a listening check. You need to listen to the instrument, make sure the instrument is working in general. Then you need to make sure that the signal is happening from your microphone from your transmitter microphone to that receiver that's attached to the hearing device. Some of the cochlear implants, a lot of them, you're not going to be able to tell. We're going to need to make sure that the student can hear you talking through that transmitter. But otherwise, if it's a hearing aid, you should have a listening stethoscope in your basket where you can actually listen to the hearing aid as well as that transmission between the FM system. If there's no sound coming from the hearing aid or the assistive listening device, the first thing to do is to check the battery. A lot of times the hearing aid may work, but when you add that receiver, that's too much for the battery to power both the receiver and the hearing aid. So you want to try a new battery. Another reason that you might not hear any sound from that hearing aid is if the ear mold is plugged. So you need to clean that ear mold. And then you need to make sure that the device is synced or that they're on the correct channel. And you'll be able to tell that when you watch the other videos of how to use your transmitters. And you can always refer to the basket where there's specific troubleshooting options. There are some special care tips. As I keep saying, that every student has their own basket with a gray case with a transmitter and a small plastic case to store the receiver in when it's not being used. You should always have some extra batteries. There is a battery tester in the baskets. However, it's not always the most reliable. It may tell you that the battery you get a red light saying, yes, the battery's good. However, it's still not working. Once again, it might be one of those cases where the battery has enough power to power just the hearing aid, but when we add the receiver, it's not enough. So sometimes it's kind of a little unreliable when it comes to that tester. So when in doubt, change that battery. And an important thing to know about that battery is that when you take the sticker off, you need to wait 3 to 5 minutes before using that battery and putting it in the hearing device. Batteries run off of air. So when you take that sticker off, there's a couple little holes in there. It needs to sit there and soak up as much air as possible to get a full activation of that battery. Once you wait the 3 to 5 minutes, then you can put it in and you should be ready to go. If it still doesn't work after that, more than likely there's something else going on. It could be the tubing, could be something wrong with the air mold, could be something wrong with the device in general, and that's when you'd want to contact me. Some other same things that work with any kind of electronic device is you need to keep it away from water. So they are electronic devices. You want to make sure that it doesn't get exposed to water or that doesn't get extreme heat. So don't store it in front of a window where it would get too hot, and then try not to drop it on a hard surface. Through Rule 51, you need to be checking your students' assistive listening device daily to ensure that it's working, and you can do that using the Ling 6 sound check. And you also need to be recording the daily checks on the hearing aid log, which is found in the student basket. And the hearing aid log looks like this. So you'll want to find your day and mark that the hearing device is working. This just ensures that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing as far as checking the device to make sure that's working properly. It also keeps in check if there's something wrong with it or if they didn't bring the equipment. It's hard to make sure they're using it if they're not bringing their equipment. So kind of just make sure that everybody's doing what they're supposed to. It also keeps me in check too, so that if you have contacted me that the hearing device is not working and you keep showing not working and you show 2 weeks of X's, that shows that I'm not doing my job and I haven't come out to fix it. You will not have to wait. I will be in contact with you once you send in a request, which I'll go through here in a little bit. But it just keeps everybody in check that we are all working together to make sure that everything is working properly for the student. To do a Ling 6 sound check, it is first off what it is. It's a behavior listening check, and it helps to determine the hearing device effectiveness. And it's used by using the 6 sounds: ah, e, oo, sh, s, mm. Those sounds encompass all the frequency ranges of all the phonemes, so they will make sure that and if the student can hear or repeat those sounds that you're saying into that transmitter, that you know that hearing device is working properly in all the frequency ranges. So you want to perform that either by you listening to the device and hearing those sounds if you can hear them, or having your student wearing the hearing aid and you talking to the microphone at a distance and have them repeat those sounds. The main thing is to change up the sounds in different order. Don't always do the same thing, or you'll find that the student is just repeating the same thing you say over and over. Even if it's a quick, hey, what'd you have for breakfast? Or depending on their age, you could say, touch your nose as you're walking away, something where you know that microphone is working and is being, that your voice is being sent to their hearing device, you know, by how they respond if that device is working. And then you'll want to mark it on that sheet, the hearing aid log, that was administered. I do have a few things that would help me. If you find out that there's a change in your student's hearing device, please let me know as soon as possible, because it possibly may mean that I need to change how we hook up to their new hearing device. So as soon as you find out that they may be getting one or they have, please let me know right away so that I can make sure they have the correct equipment. If you obtain an audiogram, please send me a copy. This just helps me to keep track to make sure that I'm offering the best accommodations for the student, especially if their hearing has changed. As a lot of you already know, I'm not able to attend the IEP meetings due to my caseload. However, I find it very beneficial to let me know when they're scheduled. That way, if I have anything I'd like you to ask the parents or the guardians about that student, I can let you know so that you can maybe ask them for me. And I'm always available if any questions come about during the IEP meeting, please contact me and let me know, and I will I'll answer everything as best as I can. And lastly, if you have a student that isn't using their equipment regularly, but maybe they still want to have it available because something could change, their junior high to high school, something where they don't want to take it off their IEP altogether. Even if we could just reword it on their IEP to say FM, DM equipment available upon request, that way the equipment isn't sitting there getting dust on it. It can be used for another student. But if that original student says, no, I think I need this again, I will bring it all right back out to them so that they have it. As I mentioned, we had the troubleshooting of equipment. There's the checklist that's in your student's basket. So a lot of times you want to use this first, even before contacting me, because it might be something you could quickly fix. As a little, sheet that tells you what to do. If you have a hearing aid, some things you can do. Sometimes it's something you can fix really easily and not have to wait to contact me and then wait for me to come out to do it. But if you do go through that troubleshooting list and find that you still can't get it to work, then if you could use the website that can be found on the gray transmitter case. It's also at the bottom of the hearing aid log. It's the nebraskamrp.com website. You go to that and hit audiology services, and then there's an audiological assistance section under my picture, I believe. And it just is a form that you can fill out. It just tells me and who the student is, what's going on, and then it sends it into a spreadsheet for me so that I can keep track of where I need to go. This helps me to keep my schedule organized too. Instead of an email, I can miss an email because I get a ton during a day. So if you're able to, please use that website. It just helps me to keep track, and then it makes it more efficient for me to come out, and it can get there quicker than missing an email and then going, oh my gosh, I didn't know that I needed to be somewhere. So that will be very beneficial for me. As far as closing, please make sure that if there's any student teachers, paraprofessionals, anybody that's working with a student that has an FM device, share this slideshow with them. Share the information, all the videos of how to use the equipment. That will help them, so that they can, and especially the video within this slideshow that shows the benefit of the FM system. Sometimes, a lot of times, what will happen is there'll be teachers or different people working with the student that say, "Oh, they can hear me just fine." But until you kind of can hear and see how beneficial it is for them, I think it's important to get that hands-on to know how beneficial that FM is. Sometimes you just have to hear it to know. Please let me know if you need any additional training or if you have any questions. This is the training that I'm doing today. This year is a little different than I have in the past. But if you have any questions or need me to come out and do any additional training for someone, please let me know. I'll be more than happy to try to find a time. Thank you for joining today, and you have a great year.